Hey guys, my name is Miska and welcome to Overwatch Central. I hope you guys are doing well. There's quite a bit of stuff happening in Overwatch right now and potentially more to come. We got three different things I'm going to talk about in this video, beginning with the PTR patch last night. So there was a PTR patch pretty late last night. There weren't any patch notes straight away and people were a little bit confused. Reading from the patch notes now though, there were two main changes that happened. The first one being subtitles. So subtitles for a lot of different things. There are three additive levels of subtitling in Overwatch now: critical gameplay plus conversations, and everything. And everything really means everything. You get all sorts of stuff. Even when Hammond's just making noises, it says hamster noises in the subtitle. So if you want all that there to just be able to keep track yourself when you're playing, then you can do that. But also for people that are deaf or hearing impaired, this is probably a huge help, and I imagine is, you know, quite surprising that it wasn't actually already in the game if you think about it. But yeah, really good stuff. Happy to see that. And in addition to subtitles, we also had some workshop changes. Improvements that mainly have to do with being able to monitor performance in various ways so your games don't get shut down and things like that. So you can now monitor server load average, and server load peak. It says that as these numbers approach or exceed 100, it becomes increasingly likely that the game instance will be shut down. So if you do a lot of workshop stuff, I'm sure that's very useful. And there were some other minor things changed there, and of course some bug fixes. So you might be like, wait, so what's odd about this patch, at least according to the title? What's suspicious or whatever? And that's that this patch was over 1 gig in size. Now, that is a little bit odd. We don't usually get very big patches in Overwatch nowadays. They've restructured the game in ways that allow them to update it quite fluently, especially when it comes to the PTR. If it's on console, it can be a bit different. You might have to re-download some things, but when it comes to the way they handle the PTR, they don't usually have to push that much, and sometimes they push things in the background in preparation for other updates. And that's the part that we wanted to highlight here, because of course we do have some hero teasers that are expected to be coming sooner or later. It's around that time of year, and with the way Blizzard have sort of indicated that they are changing some stuff at least around the summer games this summer and potentially other things, as soon as something like this happens, people are on the lookout. I did see that I wasn't the only one thinking this straight away. People were a little bit suspicious. So we're gonna have to wait and see. Maybe this is a preparation for something or a change that they needed to make to introduce another patch to the PTR in the future. Anyway, that's it for the odd patch stuff. Let me know if you have any crazy theories in the comments about what's coming. Moving on, we will be talking about the meta. And I know it's one of those words that kind of gets some people down almost, but let's begin with talking about how Reaper has just disappeared over time for the most part. So this is a character that a lot of people don't really think about as a key character all the time, but he has played quite a major role over the past few months. He was buffed several times. A lot of people freaked out over some of the buffs, but really they didn't end up doing that much. He of course had the Shadow Step buff where he's invulnerable when he's doing it, and he's invisible for a little bit too. He can jump and do it mid-air, things like that people seem to have just forgotten about. And despite this, he's, you know, not really around as much. You still see him around occasionally. He's just a pretty chill guy, sort of in the background, doesn't really bother too many people most of the time, but it's just not the way it used to be there. And if you look at pick rates on Reaper throughout the different tiers in ranked, average on PC, of course, that's what we usually look at here, you can see quite a big drop off in all tiers overall, at least, you know, comparing to where he was at his peak just a few months back after some buffs. Especially here in Plat, you can see quite a big drop off over time. And this might look pretty bad for Reaper, and it might be one of those things where a lot of people think immediately, well, maybe the buffs just weren't enough, maybe the character's just not very strong, Shadow Step is just not good enough, or whatever it may be. But honestly, I feel like it more has to do with how the meta shifted and the part that Reaper played in that shift. Goats was big, and it was nerfed along with Reaper being buffed, which was, over time, what changed the ranked meta into where we are right now, honestly. The main takeaway from that transition, in my opinion, of Goats being nerfed, various characters there getting nerfs, and how there's not really one specific composition that has stood out in ranked right now, in most games at least, is what gets me back to that pick rate graph again, to kind of say that despite this graph making Reaper appear pretty bad, I feel like what it really shows is how Reaper actually kind of did his job here on ranked ladder. So well done, Reaper. Now, obviously, I'm not gonna pretend that this low pick rate of Reaper is not really a problem at all. Of course, the character just isn't played that much and could be played a whole lot more. And why is that? Well, in my opinion, the changes that Reaper got were not the greatest. They were all right at the time, and some, especially the more recent ones, were actually pretty interesting changes that made the character play a little bit different. But compared to where Overwatch is right now, what Reaper does, which heroes counter him, and what his role is, you have to just change that character in ways that are more meaningful in the long term. That would mean changes in how Reaper deals damage rather than small tweaks here and there that Blizzard implements very slowly to make sure the character doesn't go out of control. But I don't think regardless of how you go about that, you're gonna have a Brigitte situation of a character just dominating. Reaper will always be countered by range to some capacity. His very close range focus will just mean that regardless of what you do. So looking at Reaper once again later into the year I think would be interesting. I don't think it's a top priority, but it's definitely one of those characters that have declined a lot over time. Finally, I want to put the spotlight once again back on some articles that claim to have sources in the Overwatch League itself that say that role lock is coming to Overwatch League in Stage 4. So we've talked about this a little bit previously, but it's appeared once again here and there. Various articles and rumors are stating this, so more than we've had previously now, but it's impossible to say when or if Blizzard will go through with it or not. It's one of those things that when you start seeing it from multiple sources and multiple places, especially over the course of about a month or so, when Blizzard have been talking about role queue for such a long time as well, you can't help but feel like at least they are more serious about it. So whilst it doesn't definitively tell us that it's coming for sure, it is telling us that Blizzard are most likely looking at role queue and role lock in a very serious way right now, to the point where they may even have a final way to implement it ready to go and ready to be pushed. So we're gonna have to look out for all those things, and if there's any updates on that, we will of course have it on the channel. That's everything for this video though. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike. Or if you just want to meme in the comments about whatever, then feel free to do that. You guys do that most of the time anyway. Thank you very much for watching, really appreciate it, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time.